I have a dog hair stuck to my lip gloss. That's nice. Hi everybody! Today I wanted to talk to you guys about something that you will encounter if you become a dancer, no matter if you're in a small company, big company, even a regional company. Everybody encounters a cast list and everybody encounters the process of being an understudy. This kind of goes along with this week's podcast that I did yesterday. I will link that below for all of you. I tell you my story of dancing the full-length Romeo and Juliet at New York City Ballet, how it came about, and how the fact that I was initially an understudy and got the chance to show Peter what I could do changed the course of my career. So if you haven't listened to yesterday's podcast, I highly recommend it because I want to kind of expand upon it today, talking about being an understudy and how to deal with a cast list. An understudy, if you're not a dancer, is someone who will cover a role but won't be cast to actually perform it. So there might be, if you're learning Sugar Plum, if there are 4 Sugar Plums and yet 5 people in the casting, that 5th one is there just in case if someone gets injured or sick or can't do it. And there pretty much is an understudy for every single role, even core spots. You might be an understudy for snowflakes or an understudy for flowers. And while you might not do the role, you'll know it just in case. And a lot of people who get cast as understudies don't take it seriously. And I'm here to tell you, you have to take it seriously, because if you get the opportunity to dance it, your career could change. Most of the big stars, specifically at New York City Ballet and American companies that I know of, got their big break because they were the understudy and that person got hurt and they got to go on and they knew it. Oftentimes what will happen is there might be 3 or 4 understudies for something, and they will figure out which one of you, having seen you in the back of rehearsals, or say, okay, who really knows this? And you've got to be able to know it, because if there's one spot that you all have been covering and there's 4 of you, that you're only one of you is going to get it. So as an understudy, please take that job incredibly seriously. Make sure you know all the steps, make sure you know all the arms, you're paying attention, you're doing it in the back as best you can without getting in the way of the actual dancers. Because I'm telling you, there were many times in my career where I was the understudy, I was paying attention, I knew it, someone got hurt, or they needed to switch somebody out and they said, put Katie in, because I was reliable, because I knew it, and I got some of my big breaks that way. Another example is Peter Martin's ballet called Stabat Mater. I was the understudy for Jennifer Ringer, I believe it was, and there are only 3 couples in that ballet. And the fact that I knew it, I was ready, they were able to put me on. The other 2 couples were Darcy Kistler and Jared Angle and Benjamin Millepied and Yvonne Bourret, all big-time principals. I knew the part, Jenny went out, I got in, and I did it, and it got me a big cred within the company. So as an understudy, please make sure you take it seriously. Don't stand in the back and lean on the bar and think, I'm never going to get to do this, there's no point in me being here, or that you weren't good enough to do the part, because they don't have anybody understudy that they wouldn't want to put on. For example, if you're understudying a principal role, if they didn't think you could do it, you would not be the understudy. An understudy is oftentimes, especially in a big company setting, that's the chance you'll learn the role now and you might get to perform it the next year. It's like that's their way of teaching you the role to prepare you for the future. Even if you don't do it now, you might get a chance to do it later or next season or, in the next couple of months. I remember sometimes at City Ballet what they would do is they would call understudies for certain roles and then put them on in like Saratoga, New York, which they go every year to their tour. They might not be ready for the big stage in New York, but they'll get a shot on a smaller tour. So it's not just necessarily that you're never going to get to perform it. You might very well get the chance. They just don't want to have to teach you separately, so they'll call you as the understudy. You'll learn it now. If they need you, they can put you on, but in actuality, they're just preparing you for later, and then you already know it. So make sure you take your job as an understudy very, very seriously. I'm telling you, your career could be made if you get an opportunity that you've been the understudy. There's just so many people I can think of. Taylor Stanley, who's now a principal. He got his first big thing was because he was the understudy. Somebody got out, he went in, he killed it, and then he became a favorite. So that's usually how you're going to get your big break. It's them kind of testing you and seeing what you can do. So please don't be offended if you're an understudy. Please don't, think it's going to ruin your career. Oh, I only got to understudy this part. It probably means you're going to do it in the future. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother calling you. And they know you can do it. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother calling you. So being an understudy is not a bad thing. It's a very, very good thing. Because there are many people who just, they don't believe in, they don't trust, and they will not call them to understudy any principal roles, and they won't get a shot. So a thing about cast lists, and I think we talked about this in the jealousy video that I'll link below and in a card for you guys. But when you look at the cast list, whether it's good or bad, try and keep your thoughts to yourself. If you go around bragging about the cast list for the rest of the day or complaining about the cast list for the rest of the day, it's not going to stand you in good stead. If you complain about your casting, I guarantee you'll never be cast again because they don't want to hear it. Well, I didn't, she wasn't grateful for what she got last time, so I'm not going to give her anything else, So no matter what, when the cast list goes up, it's a stepping stone, especially as a young dancer. You're not going to get all the principal roles right away. You're not. You got to pay your dues. You got to build up some cred. You got to be the understudy for a while to them to test you, see how you do, how's their work ethic. That's the other thing about being an understudy, test your work ethic. Who's standing in the back learning it? Who's standing in the back just standing there? They want to see how you do. They're paying attention to you. Even if you don't think they're paying attention to you as an understudy, they are. It's a big test. So even if you're the understudy on the cast list, go with it. So you know what? I'm going to learn this role. I'm going to learn my spot perfectly. I'm going to learn the other side. So if they need somebody on the other side, I can do both. Try and learn as many parts as you can if you're the understudy. And you understudy a big core part, try and see how many spots you can know, because then if they need somebody, you can raise your hand and they'll put you in. If you're second cast, a lot of people are upset because they're not first cast, they're second cast, they're third cast. It doesn't matter what cast you are. You're going to get a show if you're in a cast. You just are. If you're second cast something, great, who cares? First cast just means they're going to perform it first. You're going to get a shot. I was third cast Juliet when the big Romeo and Juliet happened, and I got a big shot. It became one of my big roles, and I got great reviews, but I was third cast. Who cares if I was third cast? I was third cast with some incredible dancers. So, like first cast, second cast, third casts, it's not a cut to you. It's just, all right, well, the first person we want to rehearse in this role is her because she's the most senior. She's done it before. All right, second cast, who else can we put on? It's not about, oh, I'm not first cast, so I'm not any good. You're going to get a show if you're, in a cast. Understudy, maybe not, but in a cast, yes. So don't worry about what cast you are. Some of you might have performances at the end of your summer courses. I know, like ABT, Houston Ballet. Don't worry about what cast you're in, how many shows you do. You're going to get a show if you are cast. And so it's just a matter of who does it first. And at New York City Ballet, for example, the more senior you are, the more towards the front end on the casts you are. For example, like Maria Karowski, she's the senior principal ballerina now. She's always going to be first cast no matter what she does because she's been there the longest, she's paid her dues, she's the top principal ballerina. Even somebody like Sarah Mearns might be second cast to Maria if they're learning the same role. Sarah's still going to get a show, Maria's still going to get a show. It's just a matter of who you're grouped with, what days. I wouldn't even worry about what cast you are. If you get cast in anything, whether you're fifth cast, you still get a show. You know what I mean? So don't worry so much about what cast you are. You can really start to get in your head and get a bad attitude, and then the directors will not be happy. I've seen a lot of people get really upset over what cast they're in, and it doesn't go well. So no matter whether you're an understudy, your first cast, second cast, the directors know what they're doing. I just did the summer intensive here in Mobile for 2 weeks, and I had to cast the fairies, like from Sleeping Beauty. We did the entire Sleeping Beauty prologue, and I cast the fairies. And some of the girls didn't quite understand why they either didn't get a variation or were confused as to why they got a certain one. And oftentimes, what I told them, casting is for your own benefit. If we don't think you look good doing something, it doesn't benefit us to cast you to do it and then have you not look good doing it. Oftentimes, it is actually better not to be cast than to be miscast. For example, The year I was Aurora at New York City Ballet, I was also in a different cast to be the Emerald Fairy in the Jewel pas de trois, pas de quatre in the third act, which is the Emerald Fairy is the it's really fast one. Sometimes it's a pas de trois, but at New York City Ballet, it's a solo. And I was totally wrong for it. I knew it. I didn't know why I was doing it. I think they just wanted to give me something else in addition to Aurora. And I was not a master of fast footwork at all. You know, it's that really quick little solo or pas de trois. And I got horrible reviews for it. And I was miscast. And it would have been better for me not to be in that solo at all than to actually do it, look bad, and get a bad review. So oftentimes, if you are not cast in something, it's because they're doing you a favor. You know, like casting the 6 fairies. Some girls couldn't hop on point. And so if I had cast them in a hop on point role and they would have either gotten hurt, looked bad, etc., that would have been even worse had they not done it at all, which I would give them different solos. So sometimes don't take it so personally if someone gets a solo that you didn't or you wanted, or if you got one fairy and didn't understand why you didn't get a different fairy. It's because it's for your own benefit. The directors want to cast you in things that will make you look good. And oftentimes, like I said, it's better to not be cast than to be miscast. You know, because if a director casts you, if they give you a shot and you're not ready for it and you don't look good doing it, they might not cast you again. So sometimes you just have to be ready for a role before they cast you. And they're actually doing you a favor by making sure you're ready. So don't take the cast list as a personal offense. Know that it's there for a reason. You still have to pay your dues. If you're the understudy for something, it means that maybe you're not quite ready for it now, but they see you in it in the future. So take that as a chance to say, I'm going to learn this part as best I can. I'm going to learn everybody's spot, so when it's my turn and I'm ready, I can really impress. Instead of standing in the back doing nothing, because I'm telling you, you guys, they're watching you. They are watching you. Even if they're working with the actual cast of people and not looking at the understudies, oftentimes, as you'll hear in the podcast, if you listen to it this week, they will say, all right, second cast, or all right, understudies, let's see. And you have one shot to impress, which is what I had doing the full length. So make sure you take your job as an understudy very, very seriously. Don't take the cast list as a personal offense. Don't worry if you're second cast something, third cast something. Who cares if you're fourth cast Juliet, you're still Juliet, right? You still get a show or two, you know, so don't worry about it. Just know you're going to get a shot. They have to have more than one person do a role. It's not, you know, they're in it, like I told you in the, I think it was the professional dancers advice or how to be a professional dancer or whatever video I did. I said everything is always at least double cast. You will never have a role all to yourself. So don't worry about what cast you are. If you're fourth cast Juliet, you're fourth cast Juliet. You still get a show. So again, really take your job seriously as an understudy. Really take your job seriously no matter what cast you're in. Don't take the cast list as a personal offense, because oftentimes they're doing you a favor, because you might not be ready and you could end up hindering your career more than helping it if they were to cast you and you didn't look good doing something. Just thankfully for me, for that Emerald Fairy, I was also dancing Aurora that season, so it wasn't a total career ruin, but I did not get a good review for that at all. So, and it was just not pretty. So it's oftentimes a helpful thing that directors know what they're doing. And you might just have to pay your dues. You know, as a young core member, you got to pay your dues. Yeah? So don't take the cast list as the be-all, end-all. You know, if you're not happy with the cast list, work even harder and prove them wrong, essentially. You know what I mean? It's going to be fine, you guys. It's part of being a professional dancer, is dealing with the cast list. All right, you guys, if you missed my last Q&A, it's over there. You can click it to watch. I love you all. Thank you so, so much for watching, as always. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. You can always request more videos below, and I will see you on Monday.